covering all your favorite parts of the 50-yard fight. This is the Inside the Walls podcast with Zach Kyleman and Jim Mernier.
Morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you're from, welcome to another edition of Inside the Walls podcast, back on our somewhat regular schedule. Last week, I got to give a first off applause to my co-host, my friend, my pal here, Jim Mernier, for holding down the ship here while I was gone away overseas for vacation. So first off, Jim, welcome into the show. And here's my clapping here. Thank you for helping and very much doing a great job with the solo work. I
have my voice back.
Yeah.
That's one thing I care about. Last week, dude, you don't understand how painful it was doing that podcast. My voice was gone. I had literally had to make like 20 takes. And I even mentioned on the show last week that I don't know how you do it with the takes. I don't know how you did your show, The Great Iron Gallery, by yourself. It's very hard to do a podcast or a show, period, when you're by yourself. And so I got great feedback from our community. Said I did a good job in holding the fort down. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, you don't see me. Yes, Verizon, go email Verizon, blame them that they're the issue. I can't do anything. I have no internet at the house. I have no data on my cell phone. I'm literally talking through this Zoom on my cell phone right now. It's weird. Got an email. They said they may get it done, fixed up in tomorrow morning, and hopefully we get it ready for a big interview of a return of a king that we usually that we already had on the show before. So I'm excited, but thank you also, Zach. Welcome back to the United States, my friend.
How
was your trip to Ireland? Right?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, it's almost like a two-parter story because the trip to Ireland, again, I was out there for 9 days. I did get to watch the game. I did get to watch the week 12 games going out of the country. I watched a majority of I watched the majority of at least the Sharks contest at that time. But yeah, I mean, I did get to watch those games a little bit going out of the country. But no, Ireland folks, if you ever get a chance to travel international, first off, I hope you do. If you are out there, I say recommend it. At least take one trip across the seas or out to a different place. But if you get to go to Ireland or have the opportunity, just do it. It is a very lovely country. People are extremely friendly, helpful out there. I'm serious. And that's not even cliche. Like, I can at least list off upwards of 5 instances, my hand, of moments of just people with generosity or friendly gestures or kind words, directions aplenty. It's a wonderful country, lovely scenery, lovely landscape. And we actually got there in a heat wave. Funny enough, the British Isles and Ireland are currently under like a massive heat wave, like record temperatures out there. So like I got sunburned in Ireland, like a place that rains a ton during the year. And I got sunburned on my forearms and my face for at least 1 to 2 days. So yeah, that just complete out of chance Irish heat wave, they were calling it. But great, excellent trip. And we drove, by the way, driving on the opposite side of the road. Takes a few minutes to adjust, but got used to it. Narrow roads, by the way. Let's just say plants sticking up like walls are probably stone walls. So just keep that in mind. Car didn't wreck, but those are stone walls out there.
So technically, you were keeping it inside the walls.
I was. Yes, I was.
Exactly.
Actually, you know what? That's a great connection to this because there were a few moments. Those things did look like dasher boards out there. I'm serious. It was like I was driving a car in a 2-lane road between I would say weeded covered dasher boards. Because even the dasher boards, think about it. You got padded walls on the outside. It's like a facade. Inside is that hard plasticky metal shell, but you got the soft look out there. It does help a little bit with the padding, of course. But I'm just saying, that is a funny connection. I didn't even think about that till now. So yeah, it's like that. If you ever go to Ireland and you rent a car, it's kind of like that. There's some narrow ways. There's also highways, but a lot of it is narrower paths. No joke. We actually went on down a hill called Corkscrew Hill. Think of the San Francisco street that does the zigzags back and forth down the way in downtown San Francisco. I forget the name right now, but it's exactly.
It's almost every movie that's filmed in San Francisco.
Yes.
You see that hill. Yeah.
It's exactly that, but add trees, weeds, and mountainside. So
and walls.
And walls. So,
but I like when me and you had a conversation the other day, and I think it was your Uber driver. You said like, well, sometimes you just got to merge and hope for the best. Like Jesus.
Yeah. Well, that's when I got back. I met my Uber driver. First off, no joke. If you've ever heard of Rocket Ishmael, he is supposedly, I didn't get like complete identification or anything, but he has claimed that he is related to Rocket Ishmael, the famous kick returner, receiver, running back hybrid that went to the Toronto Argonauts, had an excellent college career back in the 90s or in the 80s. So there's that little factoid. But yeah, he was talking about driving in India, which is its own set of challenges. You can just go look up videos. That's how I know that.
Yeah.
That's nuts. What I will say.
So I was going to say, oh, okay, continue. I was going to go to another segue that it was about the Rocket Ishmael and you go in Ireland, but you got finish it. What you were about to say.
No, you go ahead, because here's what's going to happen. I'm going to rant about the Toronto airport, and then we're going to get out of this story because I don't want to rant too long about the Toronto airport. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Oh, ranting about airports. That's a theme in the NAL, my friend.
Okay, but like even the NAL would be like, what is going on right now?
Yeah. But I was going to say, well, so you went to Ireland for vacation, so you weren't, the rumor mill was spawned from like last week about expansion. So the rumor is true that you weren't going to Ireland to look at, possibly having an international arena team. You're just there drinking Guinness like galore and staying inside the walls because you might crash into your vehicle in the walls. So the fact is that you weren't the one that doing the rumors about expansion, but we do have rumors on this side of the pond that actually became official this past week.
Yeah.
But we can talk that after talking about how crappy Toronto Airport is, and I can start complaining about how bad Atlanta International Airport is. So we can both agree on something.
Oh, sure. And no, and I'll tell you why. Look, Ireland, I don't know where you put an arena. I mean, there's not really any place that I can think of immediately to put an arena team. Even Dublin, like I'll say, if you ever go to Dublin, by the way, it's like the most non-looking city that is a metropolitan, like major city. Like little to no skyscrapers, a lot of older buildings, all of them like all different styles, like within like a few blocks.
Like
it's fascinating. City. Yeah, it's fascinating, really.
Yeah,
very much quaint, I would put.
I've never been to Ireland, but when I think of Ireland, I think of the Maine, like Maine's coast, all the villages and towns are off the Maine's coast. That's why I image what Ireland looks like. I've never been to Ireland. I just think that's what it looks like. I might get people on the podcast going, I thought this is an NAL show, and now we're describing it, the state of Maine is like Ireland. Right. But anyways, but man. Like you enjoyed your trip. I wanted to go international before. Well, it'd be nice to go international. The last time I went international was last year when I visited Miami. That's the last time I went international.
I'm sorry. What? International.
No, seriously, a little different. I went. Me and a couple friends went down to Miami for a weekend, or I think a couple of days, and we literally got out to get gas and go talk to somebody, and the person did not know a lick of English. It was straight Spanish. We're like, does anyone know Spanish here, English here? And everyone's like, no. We're like, oh my God, we're in the United States. I don't know Spanish. My buddies don't know Spanish, and no one can communicate with us. It's like we were literally like, did we just go through some portal or something? We had no idea, and then we realized we were in Little Havana, where Spanish is the primary language in that area of the town. We had no idea, and so I'm not bashing the people in Miami. It's just that the last time I went international was Miami. I didn't expect to go run into Cuba, but it was great food. found a good restaurant there, and boy, they can cook. I was just so shell shocked about Spanish is their main language in that town or that area of the town. Did not realize that, but yeah, I wish I'll go. I have family members that want to go to Italy, want to go to France and England. Kind of expensive, but that family member wants to go. So that'd be in my future. Not now, but it'd be in future. So I just know I'm not going to fly Air Canada or fly into Canada or Toronto. I'm going to just go Boston Logan and jump over and come back to Boston Logan.
Yeah, which this is the end of the this little, the second part / the end of this little story. So yeah, why is this show delayed this week then? Zach, you got home, right? Like, shouldn't we have gotten this on Wednesday? Well, look, I flew in from Dublin to go to Toronto to then connect to Indianapolis. Just Google search Air Canada and it's all you need to know. It's a mess. Like, that airport, there were first off, our flight got delayed 3 hours in Dublin, and it's an Air Canada flight. We go to Toronto, get there. They have, you get security check going into your first flight. They have you redo security check. They have you do customs in the airport when you're not, I'm not leaving the airport, and we still had to do customs in Canada, by the way. And then they have this system. It's kind of like, it's like a lottery system of like getting your bag selected to go to a connecting flight. And then you have to get all your stuff scanned again. And then finally we get to our plane after sprinting down the hall. This is the fastest I've sprinted in my current life since I've been in football. Like I felt like I was trying to do like one of those 50-yard dashes for end of practice sprints so that I can go home. And then we get on a plane, sit on there an hour. Plane's apparently not working. Get off the plane, flight's canceled. My bag gets lost somewhere in Toronto. I've actually checked. I have a little tracker in my phone that my phone shows. Last I checked it, it's still in Toronto. And then finally we go home after buying another flight. So yeah, I lost a day at work. I had to call off. Like, I just needed a day to organize some stuff. So yeah, wasn't a great experience there. So yeah, if you're flying through Toronto, if you're flying Air Canada, just don't. Like, if you have a chance to change it, go away from Toronto right now. It's not, or at least Air Canada going to Toronto. It's not pretty. That's my final remarks on the trip. It sucks that end like that. Go to Ireland. Just be careful if you're going to Toronto. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. Like, check your flights. Know your company you're flying with at that point.
But anyways, welcome back.
Yeah, I am here. I'm in presence. I'm in presence. Here's an anecdote that connects with. Here's an anecdote that connects with a little bit with Ireland as well as the show. So that Darius Prince interview was kind of funny getting that in order, because 5-hour difference. I get a text from Darius, are going, is this show going on still? And I'm going, oh no. And luckily we got that in order. But a little backstory to how that happened. And I'm sitting here, it's 11 o'clock at night, and I think like Dingle. And I'm just going, oh boy.
Well, the thing is that you were getting messages from Prince. I was getting messages from Levesque. Yeah. And me and Prince were trying to connect, and it just wouldn't connect. And all of a sudden it did go through. So we got the interview in. It was wild, but hey, we got it in. It was like a quick interview. It was good. I even told Prince, like, we'll like to have you back on the show when Zach is in the States after the recording. He goes, I'll be down for that. But yeah, it was a unique situation with Prince. It's you could tell with him as an individual, he sounds like what a lot of NAL players or a lot of football players, period, but not just what league you're in, is in all leagues. Mm-hmm. He's not selfish. He's team first, and like really like focus on team and their goals as a team right now for Albany to get the number 1 seed and you make a playoff run, and they're focused in Albany. It was a good interview. We shared a little laughs, and of course, we had a lot of conversation behind the scenes about A couple players that called him out during our previous shows, like Outlaw, and I'll call one of our favorites episodes, like Outlaw call out Prince, like you don't want that middle. Prince basically took a shot at him. So it was a good interview. That was last week's, basically all three shows into one. Of course, I was recovering from a upper respiratory issue, and I couldn't speak last week. And now I speak for I'm perfectly fine right now, ladies and gentlemen. My service company, not so much, but everything else, I'm perfectly fine. And let's just say I want to get into a subject matter that it's the epitome of arena football and indoor football expansion.
Yes.
I do have some breaking news right now. Breaking news from the NAL right now that has nothing related to the National Arena League. Right? Breaking news. We're breaking it down inside the walls. Are you ready? The ACC, which is college football, SEC, the expansion stuff that's happening there, right? All the massive expansion news that's happening there. So much controversy. To the fans out there, how does it feel if you have a college football team that's trying to get in one of these major conferences and you're biting your nails? And us Arena League guys are like, first time, eh? Is it your first time? Let's just say that the NAL has a new addition to the league, and that's from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Someone not related to us, not related to the league, said Fayetteville, Arkansas. That is not correct, by the way. It's already been reported. That's already been thrown away. That's not Fayetteville, Arkansas. It's Fayetteville, North Carolina. The reason why I say it's kind of like breaking news is because the NAL is always or the indoor game is always in that expansion mindset. We're always in it. And every time you have people says, I have sources about something, and they don't back up those sources, or they're reporting on false stories, and then that narrative sends out, sometimes speeds up the process. I do have to say that Fayetteville caught me off surprise, the announcement, by the way. That's the breaking news I'm giving to you. It caught me off surprised. I knew about Fayetteville. I knew about that expansion franchise, but I was just caught surprised of the announcement of it.
Yeah.
Don't know what happened. That's the executive board. That's Chris Siegfried. They made the call. I just knew that they were expansion process, and that's what me and you've said all along. In the arena game, there's always expansion rumors. I reported literally 1 week ago. I said, rumors are rumors, and I won't report on rumors. I get done with the recording of last week's episode, dude. Literally, last week's episode. I get the whole video edited and uploaded on YouTube. I was getting some ice cream and relaxing for the rest of the night, getting ready for the work day next day. I go on Twitter, breaking news, NAL Fayetteville announced. And I go, you could have just waited. You could have made this announcement an hour earlier, and I would have been perfectly fine.
Yep.
It was such a plus. Like, I recorded a whole episode with Darius Prince, previews and look-backs of the part of his week, and get it all uploaded, got the thumbnail ready, got all the tweets and everything set up, and bam. I was like, what? Oh, this blindsided me. And I got messages you saw on Twitter, you saw on Discord, you saw on everything, people messaging us saying, is there any more expansion teams coming in? Was this out of the blue? No. You got to understand, the arena game is just like what's happening in college football right now. There's speculation, there are rumors, there are so-called confirmed sources giving out bad information to see who sends the messages out. In the arena game, we should be used to this expansion all the time because every single year, there's always an expansion or a retraction, depending on what league you're in and depending on, financial situation. We said before in this show, 2020 hurt the NAL a lot, where they couldn't, execute on their plans this season, or 21 and 2022, because of COVID. Everything's getting situated, and what we've seen now in San Antonio, what we've seen now in Orlando, what Jacksonville consistently does each and every week, and what Carolina did last week with their attendance.
Yeah, Carolina,
the arena game.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
I don't mean to interrupt you there, but like, I saw some people I saw some people in the chat make fun of Carolina's attendance. I'm sorry, but That was a good attendance.
That's the
figure
biggest
for
crowd they
them.
had all year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that was good. That was a good crowd for that one. You know,
That's the biggest attendance crowd. And what's funny is people like I think it's just the game, the name of the game between the arena leagues is that we always look at it as, oh, you can't do this attendance, you can't do this attendance. Let's talk about the accomplishment of San Antonio. First home game, they had about maybe 200, 300 people. They had over 5,000 people there against Jacksonville last week.
Yeah.
That's an incredible jump. Orlando hit over 8,000 their last home game. Or Carolina, I thought I saw a number between 4,100. So numbers are increasing. That is good. That means people are getting it. And it also means there's organizations that are going out in the community. Of course, Jacksonville averages 7,000 to 8,000 no matter what because it's Jacksonville because of the history. And I know a lot of people out there don't like when I say that, but what we present and what we show to the league and what we show to all indoor football is what it needs to be everywhere. And other teams in the league are seeing the benefits of that. And I love seeing that. Even in Albany. Albany had a good crowd last week as well. So the arena game is thriving. And I believe the expansion in Fayetteville, that North Carolina environment, getting already a natural rival between the Greensboro Carolina Cobras who are in Greensboro, nice little trip. There'll be, establishing their fan base too. And it's just seeing that when we look at the question marks last year or this season with San Antonio, how they started, can fans come back, in Carolina? Will Orlando keep improving their attendance as well? We've seen that this season, a lot of positives, and that's why you see this expansion team early for the NAL. And I would just want to say to the fans out there, remember, trust reliable sources. Do not fly by wire on someone saying that they know stuff and they won't tell you what stuff they have, and they attack you if you don't agree with them. And remember, for us, we're excited. Say at Fayetteville, we will have the Fayetteville ownership on the podcast as soon as possible once we get everything organized. We can't wait to get it in. I want to be the podcast that interviews them when we get the name announced, so we get the first dibs on it. So I want to try and do that. I don't have any insights on that. I just want to say that'd be pretty cool. But anyways, expansion season is here. Apparently in every football league, just not in the NAL, especially in college football. I don't think NFL is expanding anytime soon, but there's some cities out there that want teams. But anyways, I just want to say, Fayetteville, to the fans, if you're here, or the fan base that's going to create, welcome to the NAL. To the cities that right now, keep doing what you're doing. A great week. Expansion season is here, so expect news about Fayetteville, the name, arena they're doing, the organization, that ownership group here. I'm excited for Fayetteville because A, it was out of nowhere, and B, I believe they're coming into a league that's very healthy and thriving, and showing that it is getting better each and every single week. But for overall, without the rant, remember, trust reliable sources, and remember, some of the sources that think they know may be getting fed false information intentionally, because that could be an issue too. But I won't touch on that. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, Fayetteville, welcome to the NAL. I'm excited. But yes, great week of action in the NAL, but that news got me surprised. And if they would have waited just 40 minutes earlier, or started 40 minutes earlier, did it 40 minutes earlier, I mean, it was a lot better. But nope, they had to wait for me to do a whole show by myself, edit it all, put it up on YouTube, get it all scheduled, then drop the news. I was such like, you know what? I was like, if I had a TikTok, it would have been epic how I ranted and just had a couple people told me, like, calm down, man, calm down.
Oh, yeah.
Only one episode. Like, you don't understand. We're the official podcast, and we got to wait a week to release it. It was so ironic, and I'm just excited that we get more teams out. And it's so far 7. And people say, are there going to be teams expanding? Are we going to expand more? Or what's going on? I don't know. My guess is good as yours. Because in the arena game, it's either expand or fail. And I don't think the NAL is in any stage right now of not, falling on their morals. I think they're going to try and aggressively expand again when they have the chance and find the right ownership group, because I believe so. I think the NAL right now is in a healthy position. Just look at the games this past week.
Yep, I'm with you. And I also got to say that, you know, I didn't expect anything to be announced. I think what really caught me, you know, it's a new ownership group. And that, I mean, as you expect, you want to have expansion groups there that are going to come in. I'm excited to have another team in North Carolina, at least one that, you know, Carolina, you can start that in-state rivalry with, you know, kind of like, you know, how people we talk how, you know, Jacksonville and Orlando, that's kind of their thing, you know, the in-state with Florida. So why not get something with Carolina? And whenever Fayetteville gets their team name announced, get that as kind of a matchup that you start building up, you know, get road trips together, get things like that. You know, how the Predators and the Sharks, how they advertise the bus trips and things like that. That's a package right there. That's something that helps build a fan base. I'm really excited to see how these two, I think, work together. Because really, I think if you're Rob Storm and company, I think you're working very closely with this new expansion franchise to make sure that it succeeds, so that you can have them right down the road. Dr. Robert Twaddell is one that I'm excited to talk to at some point, and kind of get his vision. And honestly, I want to know, you know, I want to know really soon enough what the process of the naming is going to be too, you know, because I understand Fayetteville. I'm not from North Carolina, from Fayetteville or that area, but I know, you know, as listed, it has a military community background nearby. Maybe that is kind of a option. It does have as listed in the PR, it has a population around, you know, 260,000. So there's a base there. It's the reasonable market size for an arena team, you know. And I know it's had franchises in smaller leagues in the past. My thing is, for those questioning that move, I do say that I think with the NAL being the more prominent size it is, that there is a chance that there is a better chance to me that it sticks around. It really comes down, as we've seen with like San Antonio. If you're an ownership group that steps in, you are dedicated and that you are passionate about what you are putting on the field and what you want to run, the sky's the limit. You know, you get out there in the community, you show them that you're going to bring a good time and a family friendly environment and game that is action packed like arena is. People will come and see that, in my opinion. And so, you know, that challenge is on, of course, Dr. Twaddell and his group that he's putting together. And I cannot wait to have him on with you and I, Jim, so that we can kind of pick his brain for what he wants to do. Because it's exciting, especially with a brand new franchise. You know, we're not talking bringing in an existing one. You know, this is a wholly new ball game. You know, starting this thing from the ground up, building it in. And I'm excited to see what goes on. You know, especially at this level that we're at, and good for them. And you know, the NAL, it needs to. We've been talking about how we're hoping it keeps growing. You know, we keep hearing funny enough, on Cobra's broadcasts, you know, they've been getting new partners lately in their ownership group that they've been having on these games. And they keep hinting at how the league's wanting to go big at some point, you know, to try and look at broadcasting ideas. You know, that's just based on that. I'm not saying that we know that, but if you watch those broadcasts, that's out there. You can listen in. And so part of that comes down to, you got to have the league grow. How do you grow the league? More teams. Ideally, if you can get to double-digit teams, that's at least a solid foundation base. And so the sooner we can get to 10 stable, again, stable franchises, the more the sky's the limit for trying to get the game where we want it to be. So another step in the right direction. Got to get into that market smoothly. I imagine the league, knowing how they have been and how the language they talk to us about expansion is, that they are going to work diligently in terms of resources and tips, tricks, you name it, to help get this new Fayetteville franchise off the ground and to successfully launch, or at least get to where it launches to where you can get something. Maybe not everything can be the exact same carbon copy, but like you look at San Antonio and you go, that is how you want an end result for a launch year, or at least going into a league like this. And so I hope that we see that at the end of next year. And I really do think the NAL, you know, it's getting, especially now that San Antonio, they've shown marketing wise, social media wise, what you can do with a dedicated presence in a local city or in your local market and on the ground. I think they're a valuable tool for any expansion team coming in. that comes in there. So exciting times, expansions in, like you said, Jim, expansions in arena. It's a normal thing. It's almost bound to happen every season, off season, that is. But for the NAL, people have been wanting to get more teams on the bone. Here we go. We're up to 7 for 2023. Good times ahead is all I can tell you. Good times ahead.
Well, that's the narrative of the arena game. So to the college football fans that happen to run on this podcast, welcome to the chaos, by the way. We do this every single year. And we do have teams that switch leagues. We've seen that before in the indoor game. So it's fun. It's intriguing. I just get aggravated where, honestly, we have unverified sources spewing false rumors about expansion teams, and then trying to blackmail or trying to skew actual information that goes out there. That happened a lot last week about Fayetteville and so on. Like, where did Fayetteville, Arkansas come from when it was clearly Fayetteville, North Carolina?
Well, and I think that I will be frank though, and I know, look, it's a mix, because I agree with you. There are some folks that, they do get some info, the info's bad, and then it just kind of throws things into a tizzy. This one, Fayetteville, Arkansas is a pretty recognizable one, so I'll at least give some slack, to be frank.
Yeah.
There's a little slack because Fayetteville, Arkansas, because that was my first thought. I thought it was Fayetteville, Arkansas until I read the PR. So that, that's just me. But yeah, nonetheless, I mean, I'm with you. I'm like you, where it's like, let's all just take a chill pill. Let's let them sort this out. Rumors are rumors, but we know expansion's a normal thing. So they'll figure it out and they'll get it down. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Just calm down a little bit. Focus on the end of the year, by the way.
Yeah. Expansion's what we expect it to be. It always happens this time of year, and it will go all the way until probably, you can say, in January, because that's when a new league year, because the season starts in March. It's April, so it's going to be pretty hard to, jumpstart a team in January and you have 3 months. You'd rather have 6 to 8 months to get your team or your city or your arena ready for the season. But what we can talk about is stuff that's actually happened. There is a huge topic that we want to touch on that it affects the Jacksonville Sharks and a player that's been on our show twice. And I have a couple conversations behind the scenes with a couple of people associated with the Sharks, and to the people on the chat boards, message boards, and Twitter, you do realize, yes, what happened was the Devin Wilson hit on the referee. That is completely out of character of Devin Wilson. Devin Wilson is a very genuine guy. He's a great guy with the community here in Jacksonville. You can just tell the frustration was that got a hold of him, got the better of him in this game. And from people I've talked to, it seems like it was such a bang bang that once it happened, he instantly regretted it. So the narrative that you see on the chat boards about Devin Wilson, 99.9% of that is fake, false, ludicrous. I'm defending Devin Wilson as an individual, as a man, and as a player, and as a person I've watched over the last 3 seasons here in Jacksonville. This is completely out of characteristics of him. And based on the people I've talked to, it's the frustration got the better of him this time around. But yes, the NAL made it official. He has been suspended for the rest of the season, including the playoffs. And there's speculations that he could have a couple games next season. I'm going to really caution that. I don't think it's going to last until next season. I think there could be still penalties, but you're talking about next season. That's so long from now. But for overall, what Devin Wilson did, I'm not defending what he did. What he did was way out of character, something that doesn't need to be in the game. But still, the league did get ahead of it. did get both sides. San Antonio and Jacksonville talked, and they came down with the punishment. And it's just, for as a fan who's watched Devin Wilson do his thing, I was pretty shocked about it. And honestly, as a person who's covered this league, I sit back and look at the play over and over again, and I go, well, was it incidental? Then you see the replay. Then you want to see certain things. Was there an intent to injure? And all of those were leaning to that one side. And I just know, based off Devin Wilson's reputation in the league and the people that he's been countered with throughout the league, I think this is a complete blindside of what happened, for a complete blindside for the Sharks and for the league for what just happened for Devin. This is very uncharacteristic, and for Jacksonville, they're going to miss him. He is a lethal weapon, but that also makes Naquan Murray have to step up, which he has, and Rob Jones step up, which he has. So for Jacksonville Sharks fan, yes, you lose Devin Wilson, but you got to remember, you played 4 games without Devin Wilson, and you won 3 of those 4 games. So you got to learn how to move on. But overall, what I saw in that game in San Antonio really shocked me. And yes, I do agree that it doesn't belong in the game. That referee became defenseless, and that referee could have got hurt and got real injured. It doesn't matter if Devin Wilson's a great guy. It's just a situation where we had a referee in Orlando a couple weeks ago get crushed and bang his head against banging his back of his head, and he went to the hospital. So referees are defenseless, and if they don't see the blow coming, it could really affect them. So this was a good thing for the league to just jump ahead of this and get on top of it. But unfortunately for me as a Shark fan, you got to serve the punishment. Devin Wilson's still a great guy. He's still a great guy with the community. I just think frustration got the better of him. He exploded at the wrong time, and he hit it, and then and it was like you instantly regret it, but you already did it. And the camera was on you, so it's clear as day. So, overall, the official came down. He's suspended for the rest of the season, so Jacksonville loses possibly, arguably, one of the best receivers in the NAL for their last home game against the Carolina Cobras and the playoffs or the NAL championship game here in the next couple of weeks. So, yeah, big blow for Jacksonville, but still, for me as a fan, very out characteristics of him, and it's going to be intriguing to see what Jacksonville does to try and counter this for the rest of the season.
Yeah, no, look, I'm glad you let off on that. And, Devin Wilson, you have more experience, you being there, and, you're, as we know, you're a season ticket holder. You've been around this team for a while. I have been more and more getting stuff from you. And that's the thing, when we've talked with Devin, Devin's a team oriented, competitive guy. And so when someone shared that clip to me, I didn't get to watch that live. Remember, I'm 5 hours ahead. So all the games that happened this past weekend were at midnight in Ireland. So I watched the beginnings of at least 2 of them, and I had to go to sleep. And I woke up the next day and saw that. I just, first off, flabbergasted, because I just don't, you hate seeing stuff like that. And again, Devin Wilson's not that type of player that I have ever seen. It was just shocking. And you could tell even after, again, I rewatched the entire replay before I came on here for that game in particular. And just like you said, you could tell immediately after that instance happens, like he's talking to the official he hit, they're hashing things out on the sidelines after that play. You could tell he regretted it. It's just that you still have to be level-headed, and unfortunately that's unfortunate for him. He was not, and that is, no way I can shake it. That's an unacceptable action, and the NAL did a good job. Like you said, the NAL got ahead of it. They got a report out and basically listed what's going on right out of the gate. It's what they need to do. It's what the league, and I think its fans, expect if the league's going to keep making steps towards being the professional top place to go for arena football. So they did the right decisions here with this. It's unfortunate for Sharks fans. It's unfortunate for the league to have this. and video around it. And for Devin Wilson, it's unfortunate because, he's going to have to, I know that it's not guaranteed, of course, that he'll come back next year, but, my thing is, if you are a competitive guy like he is, do you want to end your arena tenure like that? I say no. So I'm banking that we see him back next year. I just want to see how that process goes, but at least the end of the year, he's donezo. And that's something that you kind of, the only solution is to kind of basically park him on the suspended indefinite list because of that. I mean, that's a thing you just can't see if you want to move forward. So it's too bad. It is a shame. And really it's unfortunate even more so because it came during a time in the game, in this contest, where really it was kind of the deciding factor moment. It was a strip sack that it was just a strip sack from Justin Alexander with Phil Barnett running it back that decided the game, and completely away from the play too, even worse. So, league figured it out. That's all we can say about it. We'll keep track on it because obviously we do talk to Devin. We'll see, what his process is moving forward, and we'll figure it out. But right now, Sharks are down a top receiver. As you said, they've done it without him already. Clearly they have talent at that department. There's other things, by the way, they probably need to figure out besides that really that's not in that department anyhow. So they're good at receiver. Their challenges don't lie in the receiver position, though. It's actually his defensive skills are what I'm more worried about them missing, to be honest with you. So, yeah, that journey begins now. Last week of the season, the Sharks will have some adjustments. Sia Burley, obviously, will be making those coming up this week, going into week 14, and with the playoff seeding very much up in the air going here.
Well, playoff seeding is very much up in the air, but all 4 playoff teams are in, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
Right. I mean, their playoff status isn't affected. I'm just saying that with how competitive the league is right now, I do feel like you still want to have someone, especially like I said, Wilson's impact on defense is more my thing. I think that's what you're going to miss, is someone that was having that spot locked down, doing it 2 ways. That's my problem. Yeah. That's my thing. If I'm the Sharks, I'm more looking into, okay, we need to make sure that gap is filled as best as possible now.
And I think they're going to have to make an adjustment, honestly. They may have put Williams Jr. in that MAC role, what Devin was, to keep that, the height, because Jr. is, again, another lengthy and tall receiver like Devin. But they're going to have to make an adjustment. But we'll figure that out. We'll discuss that and more on our next episode of the Inside the Walls podcast, the final walkthrough, the preview of Week 14. Holy crap, we're already here.
Yeah, right.
But overall, the 4 playoff teams are set. The only thing that's not set are seedings. Currently, right now, Albany is first place, Carolina is second, Columbus is third, and and Jacksonville is fourth. Jacksonville still has a chance to be the number 2 seed, same as Columbus Lions. And basically, those are the 2 teams in Carolina. They can get the 2 seed. Albany has guaranteed themselves a home playoff game. They're already at worst. They can finish second. At best, they did finish first because of their tiebreakers over both Columbus and Jacksonville. If they do tie the Carolina Cobras will have the tiebreaker over them, as they will have the 3-game sweep over the Albany Empire. So there's going to be unique playoff seedings that could be finalized. So basically, if you're a Jacksonville Sharks fan, you want how does Jacksonville get the 2 seed? Jacksonville must beat Carolina, and Columbus must lose to Orlando for Jacksonville to be the 2 seed. For Columbus to be the 2 seed, they have to win. They have to beat Orlando, and Jacksonville beat Carolina, and they're the 2 seed. So, but if Carolina, they want to be the 1 seed, they win with Albany losing to San Antonio, they're the 1 seed. So a lot of things can change. So basically, Jacksonville can be either second, third, or fourth. Columbus can be second, third, or fourth. Second, third, or second and third at worst, or second and third. And Carolina can be as worst as the fourth seed and as the best as the first seed. So it's amazing. We're in the final week of the season, and we have so many different playoff matchups that we could possibly have. Jacksonville at Albany, Carolina, Columbus round 3. We can have Albany, Carolina round 4 in the first round. It's so many different Carolina, Albany, not Carolina and Carolina. They can't play each other. But so many unique possibilities. Remember, stick with us. We'll have the updated bracket, final bracket of the postseason bracket when everything goes final on Saturday with the NAL into the postseason. And just full warning to all you fans out there, playoff week, the first round of the playoffs do happen next week. Then we're off a week. Then we have the championship game. We have a bye week between the first round and the championship game. So don't be alarmed when there's no football in 3 weeks. Or where's the football at? Well, it's because it's the bye week. So this gives the chance for the host team for the NAL championship to get everything situated. So with let's get into let's get to who we're going to have as our guest on this week's Turf Talk on tomorrow on Inside the Walls. Let's go back to Carolina again, where we had a very unique situation. We had the King versus the GOAT in the NAL, which was considered, a lot of people say the King versus the GOAT. Well, the King is Mason Espinoza because he is the Lions quarterback, and the GOAT is Tommy Grady. That was a surprise signing that came in before last week. Two teams, two different attitudes. Jason Gibson and the Columbus Lions, I don't know what they were eating in the first half. They ate their Wheaties. They must have had some protein shakes, some Surge, whatever, or some good Bojangles chicken in North Carolina. Not a sponsor. And they just basically, they whipped up on Carolina in that first half. Grady did not look good, and Grady went out with an injury. That offense of Carolina did not look good at all. Then in halftime, Malik Henry comes in after halftime, and Carolina shuts down Columbus the whole entire second half until the very last possession for Columbus, which Columbus went down, scored, and then the Oscar goes to Mason Espinoza for the hit on the wall. Mm-hmm. That's still one of my favorite clips of that game. But overall, Columbus wins that game, guarantees them at least a top three spot. They can't be worse as 4. So basically, for them, it keeps them in the contention of hosting a home game. But overall, 2 tails and 2 halves of this game. And the injury status on Grady, we don't know. We have contacts. We have literally the source himself. We don't know. We don't have any information about Grady, but we do know that Malik Henry and the Carolina Cobras, I think Malik Henry fits in that system perfectly fine. And basically what I've seen in that second half, they just ran out of time. And Columbus did not look good in the second half. They looked great in the first half. Second half, they must have ate that bad cheesecake or pound cake at halftime, and it slowed them down in the second half because Carolina came back with a vengeance in the second half. And it actually took the lead at one point at the very end. I thought was the dagger, but then Mason led the team back down. So incredible game for that. Carolina won the season series over Columbus won the season series over the Carolina Cobras with the win. 1-point victory in Greensboro. And also shout out to the fans of Greensboro. Good job supporting the team. That's what we like to see in Greensboro Coliseum. So we might see a round 4 between these two teams. Maybe next week. It could very easily happen. But overall, I was impressed. Malik Henry looks a lot better. He's getting more in the system. But Mason, after having that sluggish debut last week, looked like Mason from last year against Carolina. A very good Carolina defense. And it's amazing. I just want to say this before you get into this conversation, Zach. I don't care what people say. You can have the 1 seed this year. Doesn't matter. Because the 4 seed team can win it all this year. All 4 of these teams in the playoffs everyone's so evenly matched. There's parity in the playoffs. There's no one elite team. So no matter what happens in week 14, like I said a couple weeks ago, I want chaos at the end of the year. Well, I got it because there's chaos happening everywhere each week, and we're about to see that again. So to the fans out there, no matter if you're a 1 seed or a 2 seed, 3 seed, doesn't matter. We could possibly see a 3 and a 4 seed in the NAL championship game. That's
Right.
how unique this season is. And the reason why I say that is look at this past week's game in San Antonio, look at the past week's game in Greensboro, and look at the past week's game a couple of weeks ago between Carolina and Jacksonville, how it could just flip on a dime. But yeah, game in Carolina was very intriguing, and like I said, like we said before, Zach, we cannot count out Jason Gibson and the Columbus Lions. And again, I forgot to say this. It has to be mentioned because I was told to say this. Mason Espinoza has now officially became the all-time leading touchdown passing quarterback. He has the most touchdowns in the NAL for a passing quarterback. So congratulations for Mason. And also, for the 5th consecutive season, the Columbus Lions have made the playoffs. So they were the last team to clinch basically because of the percentage against Orlando, but they finally got it and they're in. So, I'm in love with the Columbus Lions. We're gonna have Mason Espinoza on tomorrow. So we're going to talk about a lot of that with the Columbus Lions, but this game was unique. There's no issues in Carolina. I just think Columbus is just they're so even. It was just a flip of the cord, and this time it fell on Columbus.
Well, I mean, let's go through how this process went down. So first off, you have Carolina, who makes a splash in the free agency market right at the deadline and picks up, you got Tommy Grady, you got Joe Hills. Malachi Jones wasn't in for this one. So that's coming up here, but they made a lot of splash. The NAL community had quite a thing to say on it. You had your section, especially, is like, oh my God, look at this. This changes things for the chaotic nature, the competitive nature, what I like to talk about on there. You had others talking about, signing late, and hey, it's part of the rule. You can do it. It's legal. Just a heads up that is a legal thing you can do. I know that.
And
I know that some people want to talk about
you got the fan base that thinks they're betrayal. So
right. Well, I'm just saying. My point on that is look at this game. Signings do not guarantee wins. That is what I will tell you. Clearly, and remember here, like Columbus, they went out and got Mason back, and credit, he was on the roster the entire time. So that one, they activated him. He's there. But like Carolina, Coach Rez did what he did last year. He loaded up. He went, okay, I'm putting the chips in, and I'm going to see where it goes. Now, credit, it's one game. They lost by 1. The status on Tommy Grady, like you said, is what really intrigues me. We'll talk more on that later this week, going into week 14, because I'll admit, even before injury, he was a little rusty. I will say that he was getting pressured a little more often, and that actually is what led to him getting knocked out with what appeared to be like a knee injury at the time. He got knocked out twice during that game. Actually led to a bit of a substitution error with the Iron Man, because they went Grady. He was brought off. Henry comes in, which, remember, if someone starts on the sideline and is coming in and then is brought out, they're dead. So Grady, though, could return again. Injury, he comes out, he's dead. And so the end of that half, they have to go with Adam Smith, who is generally a receiver, throws actually a dime, by the way, in the corner for his first pass coming in for Tommy Grady. But like, they had to deal with that for half before Malik comes back and then, helps guide them to what was looking like possibly a win. I mean, Columbus scored 1 touchdown in the third quarter. And then for the majority of the second half, it was Carolina locking down on defense and making a comeback run. I mean, as you and I know, Jim, Malik Henry is very boomer bust. He was on a run there going in. And honestly, I'll tell you, Mason Espinoza, it's hard to keep him down for long. It's hard to keep that roster down for long when he's in. And sure enough, as the Lions get their final drive, would end up being the deciding factor in this one. They get 1 offsides, and sure enough, open free play. touchdown. And then Columbus locks down on defense. Rest is history. But the status for Grady is what I'm wondering about. I will say if it is Malik moving forward, having Malachi Jones coming in when that is supposed to happen, we'll see how that helps out. Joe Hills was like a focus this game, getting him set and ready to go. So I think he'll be fine for sure next week moving into the playoffs. I mean, he was making plays too, but I'm just saying, like, he'll be more, I think, less rusty, more I'm in season mode at this point. So yeah, a lot of stuff coming here. I think Carolina, if you're Coach Rez, you just roll with the punches. You have the assets from Malik. It's the question is, like it's been all season with Malik. Does he come and have his full A game and is he able to execute what he can do best? So we'll find out if that is the case. But Carolina, that is an unfortunate loss because now instead of having a little bit more of the control on the number 1 seed, now it's kind of up in the air for them. And honestly, seeding for them is completely up in the air for them, especially since they have the Sharks to take on, which in their last matchup with Malik Henry starting under center for the Cobras. If that's the case, that was ugly. Not saying it'll happen again. That was an ugly next matchup. So some implications there. Columbus has got to be happy they got this win, though, because that leaves their destiny of possibly getting a home playoff game completely in their hands now. And they get to go against Orlando, who it seems has appeared to be a little bit on the downswing, as we've been saying for the back half of the season.
As speaking of Orlando, they went up to the Albany Empire this past week to take on a Albany team that's close. Just both teams came off a bye week. Albany made a few additions. Orlando wasn't that very active on the final week of free agency in the NAL. And I'm just going to say that it looked like Orlando accepted their fate. They were already eliminated from the postseason, and they were just going through the motions. They were going blow by blow with the Albany Empire in the first half, but it looked like they just ran out of time. They basically just ran out of fuel. Albany clearly had a better roster. Castronova was playing pretty on a high level against the Predators, and it looked like Parsons for Orlando was very inaccurate at times, missed a lot of open receivers at pivotal times in the game, and Albany capitalized when they had a chance in this game. And overall, you look at Albany, they put themselves in a position to host home field. And for the Albany fans out there, tickets are on sale for your playoff games, by the way. There's also a football give back package that they're doing. You give your football back to them and you get 2 tickets. So they're trying to find a way to pack that game for the 2 games, possibly 2 games, but at least guaranteed 1 game. But overall, that you look at this game, Darius Prince was being Darius Prince himself again. No shock. But the thing that really got me is that you can tell how pivotal the game is with Brandon Cisse and Nick Hager in the roster.
Yes.
When they're playing, Albany is a completely different team. And when they're suspended, they're very vulnerable. But the defense did kind of step up. You're playing very well when you have your backup quarterback come in and play the last 6 minutes of the game, which was Warren Smith, and he's literally a pretty damn good quarterback. So you're not going to lose any type of advantage. He can still carry the team as well. But overall, it's unique, but it's an interesting concept that Albany now knows they control their own fate, and they had to beat Orlando to get the opportunity to secure the number 1 overall seed. But they're going to take on a very hot, very explosive San Antonio team, who I think is the best team in the league right now because of how good they've been playing football over the last couple of weeks. But sometimes in the arena game, you have to have experience in playoff type situations when it's time is getting clutch, which is where Albany is right now, where Carolina is right now, where Jacksonville is right now is, can you get that pivotal win to put you in position to host a playoff game or have a chance to host the championship game, because home field advantage is crucial in the postseason. Doesn't matter if you're a fan at home that watches on YouTube. It doesn't matter if you're driving your car and listening on the radio, or if you're a fan that's at the arena. You don't understand how pivotal it is for home field advantage in the arena game. And what we saw in Albany this past week, their fans were energetic. Orlando, they were in the motions in the second half and just went through it, and Albany got the dub, and that's what you expect. You get the opportunity to play at least one game in front of your fan base. So overall, how this game played out is deuces galore. I think both teams had 2 deuces, which is nice to see in Albany. But overall, I just felt like this game, I don't want to bash Orlando. I don't want to come off as like that. But I think that at halftime, there was something that Orlando was like, yeah, we're done. We're 6 quarters away and our season's over, so why not?
I don't know about that.
Back of the bus and stuff. But Albany just took care of business and just blew the game open and secured their home, at least one home playoff game. But I just felt like Orlando was just done at halftime. I think they just conceded, but that's just me as an option watching from afar.
Yeah, I won't fully go there. My thing with Orlando, I saw when I'm watching this contest, it's the same thing we've talked all season, and it's Orlando doesn't know how to. It seems doesn't know how to play for the most part 2 full halves. Because I'll be honest, I mean, they went toe for toe with Albany. I mean, it was 41-40 at halftime. Like, it was a pretty high scoring half. Like, Orlando went punch for punch with Albany for a half. But once they got to the second half, once Albany got control of the possession battle, it flipped. And really, Albany's defense just took hold. They played just great red zone defense. Like, a lot of the reason why Orlando didn't keep up in the second half is that they just had several 4th and 4 and out drives come, like they would stop at like this within the 10 twice during the second half and have drives flip, or turnovers, affect them as well. But to me, it was more just like the usual second half issues that they've been, or just half in general. They don't know how to play 2 consistent halves right now is my thing. And I think that Matt Parsons, he has been able to run the ship, but I think with a short turn of getting him in after Rakeem Cato being let go, and just how the season has gone to where now playoff hopes went from fringe to now completely gone. It's just kind of, I'm not going pack in. I'm saying it's more that this is a team that's trying to evaluate who it is and what its staff is for next year. And as well as, what they want to do moving forward. Remember, this is Jeff Higgins' first year full-time head coach. He was on the staff last year under Ben Bennett, but this is his first time getting this under his wings. And I think that, him and that group in Orlando, they're going to go back to the drawing board and come back with a better product. And again, they have a fan base that is growing. So you want to do that. Obviously, they ended the season, with an 8,000 attendance crowd. You're going to want to build on that. So I don't think it was packing in. I think it's just the usual plaguing that they have had in terms of they can't finish games. They can't play full 4 quarters. They only usually get 2 quarters, it seems. And then it seems like the wheels just fall off the wagon at some point. So, Orlando, I mean, I really think that it's hit the reset button hard next year and just figure out what you want to do again with your roster. I know there's guys optimistic, like Lonnie Outlaw talking about he's gearing up and ready to come back next year to provide and bring a winning team to Orlando. But for them, it's more, you got nothing to lose now. Let's try and finish on a hot note. Obviously, Columbus wants to get their win next week, but like this one, it was going to be a tough task either way. I'll be honest, Jim, like Sam Castronova, he had that somewhat rough stretch in that 3-game losing streak. But ever since Damon Ware has adjusted that offense, he has been on a ravaging tear, like pre-3-game losing streak, Sam Castronova, if not better. That offense is back to being consistently scary again. And that is something, I mean, there's a reason why they're in the 1 seed right now. They made the adjustments necessary on that side of the ball. Defensively, the signings they've made, as well as what they're trying to do, is now coming to life. And they are right now in the driver's seat of their own destiny. Thing is, though, and this is how this segues into the next game, they have to take on the Gunslingers, who, yeah, they're missing the playoffs, but like they're an any given Sunday team that they can get a win from you, you know. And last time these two played, it was still a high-flying, high-scoring game. They had outrun San Antonio in San Antonio. This time they get to bring them to Albany, but that's no guarantee of a win right there. I mean, it showed it. I mean, they got revenge on the Sharks this past week.
You sound like an expert about this.
I mean,
Suzanne.
I'm just saying. I mean,
yeah.
This is me personally. I'm just saying. You know.
I look at that game against Orlando, and I can see how Albany in that 3-game stretch, you know, Castronova not, you know, playing well. He did have, you know, Antway Grant go out with an injury during that time. He had Cisse and Nick Hag go out with suspensions, and you had a lot of uncertainty in a roster that was just like going through a conveyor belt. It was like each week there was someone else. They've been very consistent now with the same guys over the last couple of weeks, and they're finding their edge. In my opinion, will they get the number 1 seed? Probably. But does that guarantee them hosting a championship game? Probably not, because you still got to win that playoff game. But Sam Castronova has been a very positive and bright spot for the San Antonio, for the Albany Empire over the last couple of weeks, and you can tell on the field. And of course, you had that week off to prepare for Orlando. Now you're a San Antonio team that's coming into town that's pretty lethal. They lost to Jacksonville a couple weeks ago by 1 point, and they've won a lot of good games and beat some good teams, including the Albany Empire. So this is actually a grudge match. Who wins the season series? Yes, Albany's on in the playoffs, but for the San Antonio fans right now, you win against Albany at the final week of the season, you have bragging rights over them. You won the season series against them. That'd be something, you know, to be proud about for an organization to move on to the 2023 season. And for Albany's sake, go out there, take care of business, secure that number 1 overall seed, and let the chips fall as they may with all the other teams out there. But overall, the final game that we got to get into is the shootout in San Antonio between the Gunslingers and the Jacksonville Sharks. First off, I want to again tip my hat to the San Antonio fan base. What a turnout. Over 5,000 fans there. The production quality, the production quality of the guys who covered the TV, the play-by-play, and the color analyst guys, they're absolutely incredible. Shout out to Ralph. He contacted me this past week to get information about the Sharks. And also to the fans who went out there to support the San Antonio Gunslingers. That's what we want to see. And, of course, sorry, we can't control who the MC is during the games. I do understand. There were some moments there that, you know, okay, I understand where people are getting at. But still, night and day compared to what this team was just a couple of months ago or a couple of weeks ago with the transition to the ownership group of John Wayne. So San Antonio, I'm really looking forward to you guys in 2023, especially the whole offseason to build your brand and build your team. I'm really excited about that. But speaking of the game, big-time game, big-time win for San Antonio. The stars shined for both teams, actually. Arvell Nelson had a great outing. Naquan Murray had a great outing. Devin Wilson was having a good outing as well until what happened at the end of the game. But on the other side of things, Philip Barnett was being very physical for the San Antonio Gunslingers. Robert Kent was on the money with a lot of plays, kept a lot of plays on live with his feet. And, of course, a guy who could not be covered last week was I'm going to say Rakeem Cato, and that's not him. Akali Rashad. Rakeem Cato is the former quarterback for Oregon Predators. Completely different team. Akali Rashad was unguardable against Jacksonville. He was giving Jacksonville a problem. And, of course, you have two players like Naquan Murray and Akali Rashad, two explosive dynamite X-Factor players, gave both defenses trouble. It was strange how the game happened. Like, San Antonio will get up by 14 and get some turnovers, and Jacksonville will come back and tie, then they take the lead, and vice versa. This was a very classic arena football game. San Antonio's had now back-to-back weeks of a tremendous, intense football games. They had a great shootout against Columbus last week, what I thought was the best NAL game I have seen all season. And then this week with the 5,000 fans that did show up in force in San Antonio, really tells me that the city is sold on this organization. I love it, especially with the TV partners they have and MeTV. That's a great operation that's happening in San Antonio and the John Wayne Company. But overall in the game, we're all going to point out what happened with Devin Wilson. But overall, this was a really significant, true hardcore arena football game. It had everything in it. It had decisive plays, decisive deuces. The kicker, Pearson or Parsons, I think Parsons is their kicker too in San Antonio. He was hitting deuces like crazy as well. And that was, like we've stated before on the show, ladies and gentlemen, deuces are weapons in the NAL. If you have a kicker that can hit deuces, you can change the narrative of a game within a couple of possessions because you're adding different points. And that came back and bite Jacksonville and they're behind early in the game until Nick started hitting his as well. But overall for San Antonio, great outing, great way to end this home slate for the season, beating the Jacksonville Sharks, in which they lost by 1 point earlier, so they got their revenge. They split the season series with the Jacksonville Sharks. Unfortunately, San Antonio's season comes to an end, but they can very well end the season at 5-7. And if they do that, from a guy who predicted San Antonio only winning 2 games this year, winning 5-7, my hat's off to you guys and your fan base and the organization. Let's just say there's a lot of people outside of the inside the walls that thought you guys would not even win a game, and you basically shut them up quite fast with the 4 wins you got so far this season. But overall, this game, I just want, as a fan, tip my hat to San Antonio. Great performance, great way to come out and put the pedal to the metal, like I've stated before on the show. You're not going to stop Jacksonville. You're going to have to outscore them. They outscored Jacksonville, but they also had some pivotal stops, especially the big crucial turnover at the very end of the game that made that 3-point lead become a 10-point comfortable lead and final win for the San Antonio Gunslingers when Jacksonville was driving to take the lead at the end of the game, possibly trying to do a game-winning drive. But overall, great game. Besides what happened at the end, Jacksonville, go home and play Carolina. San Antonio, go up to Albany and be spoilers. Really proud of that organization in San Antonio. Night and day. And I just want to say an incredible performance by them. But it's interesting that we're here in the final week of the season, and basically my 4 playoff teams are correct. Just hopefully the seats may fall as they may with my predictions, so I can rub it into someone's face. But overall, it's a unique situation for Jacksonville. Yeah, you got it. You got Military Appreciation Night this week. Get this game out of your mind and get ready for Carolina and go for the season series win over Carolina, because it'd be pivotal for a 2 seed or a 4 seed in the playoffs. So it's gonna be unique. This game was unique in my opinion. If I had to get an MVP this week in the NAL, it would be going to Kali Rashad. That guy was unstoppable, unguardable again in that game against Jacksonville. When San Antonio needed a big play, he was there. And overall, I think you can say that Parsons or Pearson, the kicker for San Antonio, can be the kicker of the week.
Yeah, Drew Pearson. Yeah, it's Drew Pearson who you're referencing there.
I think he should be the special teams player of the week with all the deuces he made against Jacksonville. So, yeah, San Antonio, you have gained, like I said all season, make me eat crow. You did. You have gained a new fan, even though that I'm not a fan of you. because per se. But I want to say thank you. You guys are an incredible organization, and I look forward to 2023. It sucks that you guys are eliminated from the playoffs. Just if you would have won one or two of those close games earlier in the year against Columbus, possibly Jacksonville, we have enough for a different talk right now. But overall, they're the hottest team in the league, and they have one more game to, stir some more chaos into the field at the top. But it was a great game. Again, San Antonio, great performance. You've earned the respect from a Jacksonville Sharks fan. Welcome to the National Arena League. Again, I appreciate it. And Coach Saul, thank you for reaching out to me and to the people who cover the NAL for you guys. I appreciate it. Great. Again, San Antonio, looking forward to 23. Be spoilers next week against Albany. But overall, this game performance, I can't praise them anymore. They went toe to toe with Jacksonville, and Jacksonville at the time was one of the hottest teams in the league. So overall, hats off to you guys. So yeah, I'm done.
Yeah,
take it away, Zach.
Yes, I was gonna say let me just get in some points here. First things first. I mean, if you're something that I thought that if you're Jacksonville, if you're Sia Burley, I think you feel like you let an opportunity slip away, because really both sides of these, San Antonio and Jacksonville, both gave away possessions in this one. I mean, the Sharks came back from a 2-possession deficit at one point and took the lead back. They were toe to toe. San Antonio then kind of, got to have at least a little bit of a gap. Those deuces helped out a lot. And then, like I said, this deciding factor of this game, and who I think is defensive player of the week for me, is Justin Alexander. I mean, dude was a menace. And this was something Gunslingers did a great job of against the Sharks, and something that if you're going to play the Sharks, it's the best way to shut down the Jacksonville Sharks is to get to Arvell Nelson, rile him up, and sack him or force him into a bad opportunity. And, they got 3 sacks. They forced 2 fumbles on him. The one was the game winner that Philip Barnett took home. And, they did get an interception as well that flipped the possession too. So, I mean, kudos to the Gunslingers defense for coming up with opportune moments at the right time. And I think Jacksonville, they put themselves in a hole early. They did come back. They had some solid defensive possessions as well and some opportune moments. But San Antonio, when the going got tough, and especially after the week prior, where, they also, I felt like the Gunslingers let some opportunities slip by against Columbus. This time they finished, and they finished strong. Alexander, like I said, he played a hell of a contest out there this past weekend. Dude gets a lot of praise, I think. That pass rush was awesome. And yeah, Kelly Rashad, I mean, what else can you say? And Robert Kent, who already has been an excellent quarterback, coming in and keeps on, it seems, getting a bit better each time. Even at the age that he's at, age is just a number. Remember that. Dude slinging the rock real nice. And then for the Sharks, like I said, we already said what we said on Devin Wilson. For them, I think it's just go back to the drawing board, like you're talking, Jim. Reset. You got Carolina ahead of you. Focus on seeding now. That's the main thing. Get this win against the Cobras. Figure out where you're going to be. And if you happen to be hosting a game for some reason, well, then off you go. That's the deal. But at this point, I felt like if you're the Sharks, you left some opportunities out there, but you don't have much time to lick your wounds. It's time to focus on getting through the Cobras and getting that season series under your belt. So hats off to Fred Shaw too, like you're talking. It's been a year for them. That 5,000 attended crowd, that was incredible. Gunslingers fans have been coming out more and more in droves since John Wayne took over, and you got the hats off to them for just how they've marketed the majority of this season, how they've gotten people out there, how they've built energy around it. Because yeah, they're not going to the playoffs, but they're 4-7. They have a good roster, and they have a fan base, I think, that now knows this team exists, and they're not going to forget. And I highly doubt John Wayne's just all of a sudden going to stop being the way they are this year. They're going to keep – that is a good team they have built there already in terms of marketing and showing that the product is worth its time. So good on them. And they get one more chance when we talk on the final walkthrough this week to play spoiler. So, or at least spoil maybe seating issues, at least they get to do that. So, if you're the Empire, and we'll talk it more at length. Yeah, you gotta come in with your A game. This ain't no cakewalk coming in here. You gotta be ready to fight for your right, to party in Albany, at least. I know I played on that words. I'm okay with doing that though, because I like the Beastie Boys. So gotta fight for it, man. Good game here, though. Good game in San Antonio.
I was about to say that. I was about to say that. We gotta fight for a right.
Hey.
Dubs. There you go. You two just got us. But yeah, I agree with you, man. I agree with you.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, like, Gunslingers, kudos to you, man. The Sharks, I mean, here's the thing that's nice for them. Yeah, they had to lick their wounds in San Antonio. They got a little road trip there. They got to go out there. I saw Steve Shatola. He's like, hey, vacation. He's out there, the Alamo and all that. But hey, they get to come back. They get to host their final, at least what could be their final home game of the season in Jacksonville. And they get to have the control of their destiny in front of what should be, I would assume, is close to, if not the largest crowd for Jacksonville this season, if I had to take a guess. I mean, the last Cobras home game, the game they played against the Cobras, was packed. I can only assume it's going to match, if not exceed that. So we'll talk more at length with that later this week on Final Walkthrough. But yeah, that's about all we got this week. Any final words for our Wednesday rewind, or I guess Wednesday-ish rewind here, Jim?
Final words. Technology sucks. It really does. But sometimes old-fashioned phone calls don't. It's kind of weird. But yeah, final words is I think I'm getting punished from the chaos I wanted, and I'm getting the chaos I wanted.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest.
So,
this whole conversation we are having right now, it sounds like I'm doing a radio interview.
All right. That's what I'm talking about.
So yeah,
still, I do apologize to the fans out there and supporters that have reached out, said you held down the fort. You held down the fort when I didn't make it the other week. But overall, we look at it to a point where next week we are final week of the season. So basically, week 14 is the playoffs. So
at least the start of what could be something like that. So yeah.
So chaos and more chaos. So I am Jim Renier. I'm reporting live from my cell phone because internet and data rates do apply, and they suck right now. So I'm not going to. I think I already named the company earlier, but again, I'm not going to bash them. I just know that they're associated with Comcast, and I'm just not going to affiliate with them anymore. No, Verizon. Nope, it's Verizon. Our guys for script, not sponsored, but still. No, Verizon's not associated with Comcast, are they? No, that's Vios. There's so many. Anyway, Jim's going on a rant. So, Zach, close out the show before we extend this to an hour and a half podcast.
Yeah, that's fine. Guys, be sure to follow us on our social media at InWallsPod. Again, that at InWallsPod for your coverage of the National Arena League through our own channels. Also, be sure to subscribe to this channel, by the way. Hit the bell, builds morale, as we say around here, and from borrowing that from one of my other shows I do. That got started over there. Otherwise, guys, keep up with us for more news on the league. Exciting times are ahead because playoff season is about to start after week 14. We're going to have, of course, Mason Espinoza on this week. So we'll get to talk a little bit more about that matchup against Carolina this past weekend in week 13. We'll talk about his thoughts on that, his thoughts on coming back into the league for the playoff push and more. And then, of course, we got your final walkthrough coming up here. And then playoffs they're right there. This ain't Jim Mora yelling in a press conference. It's about to be around the corner. So stick around with us. Until next time, folks, I'm Zach Kyleman. This is Jim Renier on the other side of the screen signing off. And, well, remember one thing, as we like to say on this show before we go.
You can always watch every NAL game on YouTube. You don't have to be in attendance. But remember, don't be a jack out of the box.
That's how I like to hear it. Even on the phone, Jim delivers. Until next time, everybody, we'll catch you here with your next 2 episodes coming up on Friday. Stay tuned till then. See you then.